Hello,
Well,
all.
that was
My name is Erta the Wanderer, and I've come out of the jungle today to talk with one of our most esteemed generals, the Great Lizard Wizard. How are we doing today, Wizard?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Tired, mostly. Very tired.
Fair.
Sorry for no content, guys. I've been working my butt off. But Wizard here has been going to a lot of events, like 3 since we last met, right?
Yeah, three since the last time we talked. Two of them were on a back-to-back weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There was a tournament Saturday that was an RTT and a tournament Sunday that was an RTT this last weekend. And those were both super fun.
Exciting. How's that been going for you?
Well, so I maxed out my RTT points for ITC. So I can't get any more points out of the small events. So I've just been bringing weird stuff to see how it goes. Um, so it's been fun. Um, like the furthest off event, the one that was back in July, I brought a Thunder Lizard list that was Croak and Thunder Lizard with Arcane Tome on Engine of the Gods to do the whole Arcane Vassal trick
Mm-hmm.
for fun. And I ended up playing against two Lumineth Realm Lords and a Sons of Behemoth. Uh, but that, like, I went undefeated. I did not expect that to be the case with that list. Especially when I played against 40 Sentinels Techless, and then the next game played against Sentinel spam. Uh, like I just assumed that they would just pick off my dinos every turn, but that's just not how it worked out. Like one of the games, I took 18 mortal wounds from a unit of 20 Sentinels on a Bastillodon, which should never happen,
Oof.
but it did. But I still ended up squeaking that game out. Um, and then the Sons of Behemoth player made a critical mistake in not making me go first. Um, and I double turned him and was able to take out two giants off the double turns. Um, but yeah, like that was super fun. Didn't expect that list to do well. And then the event that I went to this past Saturday, I brought what I thought was a pretty mean list. Like it was basically Dracothian's Tell, old double Slan.
Mm-hmm.
It was Croak, Slan as a general with his standard build, an Astrolith, a Skink Priest, two units of five Sars Guard, one unit of 10 Skinks, three units of two Salamanders, and a unit of Chameleon Skinks. Um, and I thought that would pretty much cut through everything. And then I ended up playing my best friend, who's a Sons of Behemoth player. And on my Alpha Strike to go after his Kraken Eater, I did like half the damage I should have done, and that was pretty much the game. Like it ended up going all 5 turns because it's Seraphon and it has good summoning and everything.
Mm.
And I think he only beat me by 2 points. And as a result, I made him lose the event because that was a pretty large event. Uh, and he lost on battle points because our game was too close.
Oh, shoot.
Um, yep. So felt a little bit bad about that, but we played it down to the bitter end. And maybe it was 3 points. I actually think he won by 3 points, um, instead of two. Uh,
Well, it is a dice game.
yeah, but the other games, like I just decimated with that list. Like I don't know who was my first opponent. Ah, it was a Kharadron Overlords player, and he was new to the game. Great guy, I really like him. But like he did the like that list, that double slam list, came from the meta when KO was dominant and was built specifically to counter KO. So like he did his KO thing where he flew up, unloaded his guns, and then died. Uh, because that's what double slam does to KO. Um,
That's
and
what
then
most
my
thing does
second
to
game,
KO. They are not doing well at the moment.
no, I feel bad for them.
Yeah, they
My
they dropped
second
from
game,
like top 3 to 20th place or so.
yeah, yeah, it's been rough. My second game was against a guy who's from the 40K community, is just recently joining in to Age of Sigmar, and he had a really cool painted Lumineth army. Like he painted them like they were all golden statues, like
Mm.
a terracotta army theme.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Um, yeah, it was really neat. But he had 60 Sentinels. Um,
That's less neat.
I know, right? And he had the lore masters to try and do their gimmick for grabbing objectives and stuff.
How's that
But I
working
ended
out
up
in
tabling him.
actual practice?
So it was the Vice where the objectives start on the very corner of the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said no. Like with the units that I had, I was just able to hard screen him, so he could not, even if he charged, get in range to take the objectives because they're literally the corner points of the table. Um, so yeah, just straight zoned him out. So he didn't
Okay.
get any value out of those lore masters, but otherwise it seems like a decent tactic.
So it's threatening enough that you
And
actually have to pay attention to it.
yeah, exactly. Like I think it is something that you actually have to worry about because a lot of the games are relatively close, at least for me. Like some of the games that I win, like I'm getting max battle points out of. Um, but that's just a lot less common in third edition than it was in second. From at least my perspective. Um, but that game ended up shifting pretty hard. Like I ended up getting a turn three double turn. Um, and he had his like because of the way his army was built, he couldn't really hide his sentinels. Um, and my salamanders stayed up. I basically had six salamanders still alive, and I had summoned more because Croak and Aslan and Astrolith.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I was just able to melt straight through his sentinels on turn three. Like I took out a unit on my first turn, because he made a slight misdeploy, and so I was able to get all six salamanders into one unit of sentinels and just deleted it. Um, and then like he charged in to try and tie me up and unleash hell, basically killed off all of the wardens that he sent in. Like he made a couple of tactical mistakes, but it was the turn three double turn that really ended that one. And then the Giants game was against Evan, my best friend. And yeah, it just the alpha. He made me go first. Like he did everything right. My alpha strike whiffed. I had some really bad luck on saves and other things on the following turns. Like once he actually got to my Realm Shaper engine, uh, both my Saurus Astrolith Bearer and my Skink died to it getting kicked over. I rolled ones for both of them.
Oh no.
Um, like there was a series of bad luck, but he played the game really well. Like he made all the right choices.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, the Sunday event was a bizarre list. Like, let me actually pull it up and make sure that I remember and say it right. Uh, I called the list Skinky Beast because that's pretty much what it is. It is a Pterodon chief with Nimble and the Stegodon helm as the general, and it's just coalesced. It's
Okay.
no other subfaction, just coalesced. I think there's a lot of value to going Fangs of Sotek if you want the extra movement with what I'm about to describe, but I went coalesced because I wanted the damage reduction.
Okay.
Uh, but it's that Pterodon chief. It is two Star Priest, two Priest, uh, Guidance and Cursed for the prayers, Celestial Harmony, and whatever other spell you want. I took Tide of Serpents because I thought I might have an issue dealing with hordes. Then it's three units of 10 skinks for battle line, two two-man units of Razordons, two one-man unit of Salamanders, two six-man units of Pterodons, and a five-man unit of Chameleon Skinks. And that list went undefeated, which I did not expect, but that was a really small event. Like I think we only had 10 people show up for the
Mm,
Sunday event,
okay.
um, just from the way scheduling worked out.
That is an odd list.
It's what?
That is an odd list.
Yeah. And it killed Archaeon in a single turn. Uh, like he came right at me, and I still had like my Pterodon safe. My Razordons took five wounds off him on the charge between like their volley and Unleash Hell.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, I did the math on request, and Razordons do better than Salamanders do defensively at the moment.
oh yeah, yeah, and they're pretty good in combat. Like
Mm.
I did this list to try out Razordons, but I also wanted it to be like just a janky list instead of actually like I want to see how powerful I can make Razordons. But basically, I want the idea of the list is to have a bunch of different switch targets for either of your priest units to be buffing. Um, so like frequently turn one, I'm buffing up the Razordons because the Pterodons are staying back and waiting. But if they end up getting in reach, because 16-inch movement, if they can auto run six as well on Pterodons, is a huge threat range, and those bolas are no joke under buff.
They are not.
Um, and so yeah, it was just here's like I've got four different units I can switch between. I've got two different buffing setups. Um, and it ended up being a really fun list to play. I played against a Alariel Durthu Tree Lords
Thing.
Sylvaneth list, which Sylvaneth don't get enough respect. Like being able to take four behemoths plus one that you summon for free to a 1+ save, adding 3 inches to their charge, and they're all decent damage, and they have their stomp to make you fight last.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvaneth is better than people think they are. But I ended up eking out a victory against Sylvaneth because he ended up like an inch out of range to complete one of his objectives to kill a battle line. Um, and then he failed to kill one of my heroes with his Alariel spear. Like it should just one shot a skink priest, but he
Dice game.
missed
Dice
on
game.
a 2-up, 2-up. So, but it happens.
Okay, not
Um,
impossible. That's actually. Oh, let's see. Mm, about a 18% chance.
yeah, I mean, it's still like
Still
it
bummer.
should have happened, but it's not a guarantee. Like nothing in the game is. Uh, so yeah, I ended up eking out a victory. I think I was ahead by like 3 points in that game with that list. And then the last game that I played was against the guy who won the Saturday event. He was playing a Thunder Lizards list, which was basically the list I brought to the previous event, except he dropped 5 Saurus Guard to bring 5 Chameleon Skinks, which I think is a really good improvement on the list, especially if you're not playing in a meta where Croak's getting sniped. If you're playing in a meta where Croak's taking a lot of fire, you'd rather have 2 units of Saurus Guard. If not, you'd rather have the Chameleon Skinks. Absolutely.
Mm.
Um, and so yeah, he ended up winning the Sunday event with that. And then when we played Saturday, he brought a different list. It was only like 9 models. Like he brought a bunch of Stegodons, a priest, a Starseer, and a Carnosaur, um, and an Engine of the Gods. Uh, but I just diced him. Like he just literally got straight dice. Like I had 2 rounds of shooting with Razordons where I had like 2 away from max shots. Um, and like my pterodons did almost like I killed 2 stegodons on my first turn, which my list should not have been able to do. Um, but it also helped that I was coalesced because it reduced all his damage that he was throwing out. And like that list had shackles in it, Soul Snare Shackles, the one I was running, the Skinky Beast. I forgot about that. But I never ended up using it because I wanted him to fight me. Like Unleash Hell was getting me so much value that game that I wanted him to always be coming in. Um, But I straight up just won that game because of dice. Like he got diced hard.
It happens. Dice game is dice game.
Yep. But it's been fun. Like out of lists that I'm gonna play again, Dinky Beast is actually up there. Like it was just so much fun to play. I definitely think you can optimize it. Like if you want to drop um the salamanders in order to fit in like a slan, that would go a long way to improving the list.
Mm-hmm.
Salamanders are a lot less good when you can't deep strike them. Um, and so taking out the salamanders to bring a slan, dropping palisades because that list had palisades in it. Um,
Just trying to fill
to
out
bring
points, or did you have a goal for them?
so palisades is because you can do something janky with it. So because of the way the spell interacts, if you turn your Realm Shaper engine to have a corner pointing forward and you put prismatic palisades in front of it, most of the board cannot see any unit that's inside of it
That's dumb.
because of the way measuring works. Um,
That's
yeah,
that's dumb.
yeah. Uh, so it's just for that. um, so if you don't care about seeing out, then it doesn't matter and it's really powerful. If you do, then you just use it elsewhere. But it's just a dumb thing you can do. Uh, yeah. So yeah, there's definite ways to like improve the Skinky Beast list and actually make it more competitive. But I'm really liking Razordons as like a counterpunch unit. Um, like that used to be what I would love Salamanders for because they'd come in, they'd try and hit you, they'd fail to kill your Slan, they'd kill all your guard, you'd drop all your Salamanders around them, you'd light them on fire. But now just having Razordons on the table, like you get them in cover, so they're 3 up, you all out defense them, so they're a 2 up, Like against most monsters, that means they're still going to have their 4-up save. They're going to unleash hell. They're going to do their volley shots. Like they're shockingly good at counter punching.
Hmm.
And heaven forbid they live through, then you put serpent staff venom on them and you shoot. uh, yeah, so I'm liking Razordons. I'm definitely going to be using them in some more lists.
Yep, they're
But
the
it's been
defensive
fun.
version
Those
of
three events were
salamanders.
super fun. What about
They're
salamanders?
the defensive version of salamanders, which is kind of what they
Yeah.
were always supposed to be, but
Yep.
weren't.
Well, and like I know people crap on them not having rend outside of 6 inches, but most
That
of the
doesn't matter if
time
they're
when
being
I'm using
charged.
them, they're within 6 inches. Uh, and otherwise, like you're putting serpent staff venom on them, so I don't. The rend's nice, but so much of the game has monsters that are at a 1-up save through like various buffs and stuff
Hmm.
that the rend doesn't even matter. Um, So just
Yeah.
having 18 inches is great. Like salamanders, most of the time, I get like one of their attacks through on the target they're trying to hit. And then otherwise, it's just, oh, I got 2 6s this time. So let's do 4 mortal wounds. Um,
Weight
just
of
because so
dice.
many monsters can so easily get to that 1-up save.
Yeah. Weight of dice seems to be a lot more important in third, which is weird because
Yep.
it's harder to pull off. And
Hmm.
and any unit that depends on rend to do damage is really struggling
Yep.
because it's so
Like
easy to
salamanders,
ignore rend.
salamanders are still good. They are very consistent, and that alone makes them good to use because you have a decent idea of what their effect is going to be. So I still like salamanders, um, but I don't think they are like the best thing in our book anymore.
Mm.
Like honestly, Bastillodons for their points, I kind of like more than salamanders. Like even if you're not in Thunder Lizards with Trove of the Old Ones. Like just the fact that they have that 1-up save, 10 wounds, um, 9 shots, fours and threes, rend 1 2 damage. Um, like I like them as much as salamanders, and they're certainly more durable.
Yeah, initially.
Yeah,
I still hate how their save drops off. That's so unpleasant to deal with.
yeah, but I am glad that saves can now be modified below a 1. Like that was just annoying to explain to my opponent to be like,
Yes,
yeah, you have
no
rend, but it
one
doesn't matter.
understood it. It was a stupid rule.
Yeah,
They really should have just said 2 plus, and until you hit this many wounds, they have ethereal. There you go.
exactly. Yeah.
That's what it
Um,
was.
yeah, that's exactly how the rule worked. It was just stupid to explain to your opponent why that was the case. Um, so I am glad that went away just for ease of whatever, but it did make Bastillodons a lot less durable. But like you can arcane shield or mystic shield them, you can all out defense them. Like it's really easy to get them to ignore what rend people can throw at them.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so like if you need to deal with a Sons of Behemoth giant, like you can literally just send a Bastillodon into it, and there's a decent chance it'll fully tank everything. Um, so I like Bastillodons for that reason alone, the fact that they can tank a lot.
Yeah, they're nice. I'm glad the meta turned to where they're not terrible anymore.
Yeah, and Arc of Sotek at 185 points is worth considering. I don't think they're good, but if you're looking for something to frontline wall with, they're not a bad option just because of how cheap they are and how durable they are. Like those two things together make them pretty good for stilling enemy action economy.
Okay. I I'm still going to hard nope them, but fair enough.
Yeah, like they're very niche. Like if you're wanting to send them into units that like against Graveguard, like they're gonna sit there all day. And like 30 Graveguard is a terror to behold, but an Arc of Sotek Bastillodon is gonna hold them for at least 2 combats in all likelihood. And that's just massive.
In
Um,
general, I'm just more likely to throw nothing units at things like that because you can't do more damage than they have health, and
Sure,
that
sure.
tends to tank better against the really dangerous stuff in the game. And
Oh
2 units of skinks is still cheaper than a Bastiladon and will last just as long.
well, I mean, the Tin Man Skinks will be dead in a turn.
Right, but two of
Bastillodon will
them will
probably
die
take
in
two
two
combats.
turns, and you said,
Exactly, yeah, if you wave them. Yep.
yep, and you said it'll last 2 turns. So I just saved 35 points and got the same result. And
Yeah, but you
I don't
didn't
have
do
to worry
six
about,
mortal wounds.
like, you didn't even do that, but yeah.
Bastillodon, well, I guess it's going to get tiered. Never mind. So it'll
Yep.
do like four mortal wounds.
They tier really, really hard.
Yeah, they do.
Like,
Except their combat. Their combat stays.
yeah, but their melee combat outside of the Archaeotech, which is also really bad, is really bad, so it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's
I
awful.
went through all the numbers of most prominent monsters, and Seraphon especially tier about 20% worse than everything else.
Yeah, we tier hard.
Our charts are just awful. So if any of you out there think it's tough, that would be why. It's because we really have to get that first strike in, and we aren't durable enough to
Yeah.
not not drop.
I will say from my experience with Thunder Lizards, um everything lasted longer than I thought it would. Like just that coalesced reduced damage by one
Yes,
is
it
huge. Like it
definitely
does not
does.
help you against Lumineth Realmlords. Uh and I was lucky
Or
with my first opponent.
daughters, or marauders.
Yeah,
Mostly
but
just the really big stuff, which is what's dangerous at the moment.
yeah, but Marauders are just such a glass hammer
Hmm.
that like I mean you unleash hell on a unit of Marauders and you kill 6 to 9 of them with a Stegodon.
Yep.
There's a good chance you've robbed them of Rend 1. Um like that so I don't know. Like
Let's see.
Marauders, at least for Thunder Lizards, don't scare me.
Pinks
Also
is the
it's
other
so
one.
easy to like to screen your surface area. Like sure, they'll still make it to you because they've got that massive charge. But if they only get like 7 Marauders in, my Stegodon's fine. Like if my Skinks eat most of them, I don't really care.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. We're going to get into one of the biggest questions people had for us in the last episode, but the main problem I saw whenever I asked them how'd it go is people charged their monsters into something that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like, Carnosaurs are good because they're cheap.
Yep.
They aren't good because they're good. They're good because
Yep.
they're cheap. If you charge something dangerous with a Carnosaur, that Carnosaur is going to die unless he has support. So
Yeah.
help him out, guys. He can't do it on his own. He's not made to do it on his own. He's 200 points. Nothing at
One
200 points can take on Kragnos. Why did that guy even do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like even when you make a Scar veteran as good as you can, like you put him in Thunder Lizards, you give him Prime War Beast, you give him Ethereal Amulet. Like that's a decent Carnosaur. You're looking at 5 attacks with your jaws that are 5 damage.
Yeah, fully
But it's
max damage Carnosaur will do about, on average, 19 to 20, 29, 30 damage against a 4-up save. The problem is everything in the game that's dangerous has a much better save than that.
Yes, that's exactly the problem. Is you've only got Rend 1. And like a Mega Gargant, if like you're lined up to fight a Mega Gargant and their hero phase, they're gonna be like, cool, I finest hour. And then in the combat phase, they're gonna be like, and I all out defense. And now they're a 2-up save. So they're making all their saves on a 3-up, because that's all the more your Ren's doing. Like
Yep, your
you're
damage
not
drops to lower than 10 at that point.
yeah, exactly. So
And
that
that's not
that's a
something you
big
juice
problem.
to high heavens.
Yeah. Yep. Which is actually one of the advantages that I think Seraphon really has. So we're good in every phase. We're not amazing in every phase, but we're good in every phase. We do a decent amount of damage through magic. We do a decent amount of damage through shooting. We do a decent amount of damage through combat. Because we do both shooting and combat, that means that if they really want to keep something alive, they've got to spend 2 command points. They've got to all out
Mm-hmm.
defense in shooting, and they've got to all out defense in combat. And that lets us really deplete their action economy resources, and that's how we're able to take things down. At least that's been my experience.
Yep. Also, if you build for it, we're really good at in the bravery phase as well.
Oh yeah,
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 because my list doesn't actually function in the shooting phase. I tend to do my double on that, where my melee army hits hard in the melee phase and then hits hard in the bravery phase.
yeah.
So yeah,
So are you taking the Nagash spell, the Screaming Head, whatever thing?
if
Negative
I
two to
could fit
bravery,
it, I
can't use.
definitely would because that one makes me laugh. But
It's really
and
good, but
yes,
it's
it
like
is
what,
very good.
90 points?
Hmm?
It's like what, 90
Let me
points?
grab it. But here you are. Where's the points?
I'm gonna go to the web tool builder. Do I have it? I do. Endless spells.
Oh wait, this is the wrong book. Oh well,
Uh,
it's down
yeah,
there,
it's
and I
it's
can
90 points.
yeah, it's down there, and I can normally pair it with Gravetide when I drop a unit of Croxagore. So it depends on who I'm
Oh
fighting.
no, it's Horrorghast. I
Yeah.
looked at the wrong one. Horrorghast is only 65. It's the same as Shackles.
Mm. Right. I usually pair Horrorghast and Gravetide, so I
Oh
can
yeah,
make people ignore one of my flanks and then punish them for it.
nice.
Unless I want to have fun, and then I take double Croxagore and just charge them in because I like my boys.
Yeah.
I like my boys.
Well, enough about my escapades in the mortal realms. The questions we've been having is how to deal with like the big bads, Archaeon,
Yeah.
Marathi, Kragnos, that sort of thing.
People call them the god not monsters, and I can see why. One of them is a god, another one is using the power of a god, and
Yeah,
another one is a god in everything but name. So, yeah, okay. But also, Velocida is on that list. And the main problem people seem to be having is they have very good saves, a decent amount of health, and can heal like bonkers.
yeah,
They can heal like 6d6 a turn, so.
yeah. Alario's crazy for healing too. Like if you don't have one in your play group, and so you're not having issues or running into her complaining. Well, yeah, she can easily heal like 3d6 a turn, and one of those d6 is just automatic and always happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like I've watched games because one of my other close friends, he plays Sylvaneth and he plays like he's just very analytical, very good at the game. And I watched his Alario get down to 2 wounds and then be full health the next turn, like more than once. Um,
It's a shame that her healing doesn't bring back models. Sylvaneth would
yeah,
really like
for
that.
Dryad spam though isn't really the way to go anymore. Like it'd
Well,
be
I
cool.
didn't mean Dryad spam. I meant like try and bring back Kurnoths.
Oh yeah, and Kurnoth spam is still definitely a valid build. But what I think is scary personally is their behemoth spam, like
Really?
Durthus and Tree Lords and Tree Lord Ancients,
That's a surprise because
because
Tree
they're all going to
Lords are
be at that
still
1 up
kind of
save.
crap.
Like, huh?
That's a surprise because Tree Lords are still kind of crap.
No, they're only 185 points.
Oh wait, they went down.
Yeah,
Okay, there we
yeah.
go.
Tree Lords are actually like point for pound. They're one of the most efficient behemoths. Um, and
Okay,
Alario gets to bring
that's
one
a
for free.
wait. They dropped that much.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah. No, they're
25
good.
points. No wonder.
Yeah, yeah. They're actually good now. Because they still get their behemoth actions. Uh, they're still a here. Like they're good now.
Ancients are
Um,
still like, why?
yeah, yeah.
You take one
Uh,
so that you can drop forests, and that's about it.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like the ancient's not bad. He's got like the D6 staff. He's got okay shooting. But you bring him for free woods. Like that's why he's there.
Mm-hmm.
Um but yeah, Lorio's a problem, especially like if they get their swarm off that adds 3 inches to charge and +1 save. Um like you definitely want to stop their spells. Don't let them start stacking Throne of Vines or you're going to be in trouble. Um Fortunately, Seraphon don't have a huge problem with that. We're like, cool, wherever you're on the table, I'll try and
Boop.
dispel it. Oh, you got it off? Well, now I'm going to get rid of it
I
because,
just
again,
booped
wherever,
you
yeah,
from
yep,
all the way over here. This is why you
yep,
bring a slan, kids.
Yes, yes. Uh, like that table wide unbind is huge. Because otherwise, a lot of those monsters can literally sit out of range, get their buff cast off, and then come to you. Like they've got really high movement and fly.
Mm-hmm.
So just having a slant alone, because most of those armies don't have good bonuses to casting. Like Daughters of Cain doesn't have remarkable bonuses to casting. Slaves to Darkness is pretty much non-existent. Like if they're in Tzeentch, that's different. Um, but like even then, you're normally looking at a 10 or 11, and you can pretty consistently get to +2, +3 without really trying.
Mm.
Um, like you've still got decent shots at unbinding any opponent. Uh, Bring a slam. They're amazing.
But back to the question. The main thing people always seem to ask me is how to kill Archaeon or Godric, but Godric isn't the problem people think he is.
Yeah, so Godric, the short answer is you pretend he's not there. Um, like a lot of times you don't even have to feed him skinks. He moves really slow. And if your opponent's spending a command point every turn so that he can move 10 instead of 4, that's a win. Like you can literally just ignore him. I've played against him 3 times. Um,
Even if he heads to the center of the board, as long as you're aware of where he's at and you screen appropriately, you can ignore him
yeah, and like
entirely.
even in the Ideneth list, because there's the Ideneth list where he can pick up their sub-faction things. He still can't teleport. You can't whirlpool him or whatever.
Mm.
You can't do any of that because of his specific rule. But it does let him do the tide table. And so he becomes a lot faster and a lot deadlier. Even then, I just straight up ignore him. Like just just ignore him. Like I didn't even screen him in one of the games. It didn't matter. Like you just play around him. You just give him the space to where he can't get anywhere he wants to get. Um, you're not holding all objectives in most games, anyways. It's not like it used to be. Like in third edition, as long as you have one more objective than your opponent, you're getting the max out of objectives for most of the battle plans. Um, yeah, like I just ignore him every game. Uh, I don't even put damage on him. Like kill literally the whole rest of the army. He's so expensive. He's like 500 something points.
Yeah,
Uh
he's pretty close to that.
like just ignore him. Um yeah.
He will kill anything you put into him. So, don't charge him. Don't
Yeah.
try and shoot him. Just have your opponent play 1500 points down and play around him. It will only ever matter on like the one or two objective point games. And even then not much because you can stand in the same area as him and take away his scoring power without actually fighting him.
Yeah. Well, and that's so this is the trick to all big monsters. The game at this point is much more about action, and action economy has always been important, but third edition is much more about action economy than the other two editions. Um, so never just give your opponent free action. Like, why are you charging a monster if it's only a combat monster, if it's not a shooting monster? There's no reason to charge it. Let it charge you. Um, Rob it of an extra phase of activation. Like, don't give it 10 combat phases. Try to only give it 3 or 4 combat phases over the course of the game. Um,
Unless you can outright kill it, because that is an option. But
yeah, unless you can outright kill it. Which Archaeon, despite his native 3-up armor save and 20 wounds and a 4-up save against mortal wounds, my Skinky Beast list, the opponent was newer, uh, charged right into me, and I killed him on my turn. Like it was my whole army. Your whole army will definitely kill Archaeon. Now that's not gonna isn't gonna happen in most games, but like I didn't have to ignore him. Like I just straight up knew, oh, I can kill him. Like 12 pterodons, 4 razordons,
well, let's be fair.
two
12 Pterodons will
salamanders.
kill pretty much everything.
Yeah, like it's just gonna die. Um, and pterodons have gotten better in this edition. They are
Yep.
easier to use because there are big fat monster bases that are really easy to slightly move across, even just in the pile-in phase. Um, yeah, like you have to be a little bit more careful if you're doing the pterodon chief thing because they can roar and stop them from getting the benefit of the boulders.
This is why
And
you
there's
just
some
use the
other
throw
things
the
you have.
heartlands on them.
Yeah, yeah. There's some other things you have to watch out for. But like in the charge phase, it is so easy to drop bombs now. In combat or in movement, it's also pretty easy. Like bases are freaking humongous,
That would actually make
and
them really good screen units.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you charge me, I'm just going to pile in and you will die.
yes, exactly. And their bolas are no joke. Like if you unleash hell with bolas, like D6 shots a piece, like 66 shots, isn't bad.
I
Especially
don't
if
like the
you've
D
already
part of
flown
that
up.
statement, but yeah.
Well, so if you're using them as like they've already done their thing and now they're just flying around screening. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times I still have serpent staff buff on them. Um, so like unleashing with uh like 20 shots that are going to do mortal wounds on a 6 to wound. Like I don't know. I've and I normally had like the skink priest command ability on them for +1 to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't take a whole lot of support to become really effective.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Well, I
so
just
like
don't
it.
like how random it is. We
Oh,
were
that's fair.
talking about how dice games are dice games. I like to make that as little of a thing as can be.
I can respect that. Um, but yeah, pterodons are a great unit for dealing with all of the various monsters at the moment. Um, like after playing that list, which was definitely better than I thought it was. Like I thought it was a mid like B tier list. I think it was probably a bottom end of A tier. Um, if it's played well. Um, but yeah, like pterodons are shockingly good at dealing with all of the various monsters.
Yep.
Um,
And if you don't,
Sons of Behemoth shooting will just straight flatten them though.
mm-hmm.
The like giants, the siege breaker, like he's just gonna kill one outright in all likelihood. Um, the little giants with their rocks, like they're gonna kill one or two. Like that 6-up save, you're gonna fill it against Sons of Behemoth shooting.
Yeah, Suns are holding their. Oh shoot, where are they? They're currently seventh in the meta at the moment.
Which honestly, I think they should be much higher.
I do too. I
Like
think it's mainly this issue we're talking about. Everyone struggles against Archaeon, and everyone above them has Archaeon.
I
Oh,
just,
and Daughters of Cain. The thing
man,
is,
if I'm playing
he's
Sons of Behemoth, I don't know how I lose to Archaeon.
oh, I don't think that they're personally losing to him. I think it's
Gotcha.
just an in aggregate. Archaeon does better against everyone than Suns do against everyone.
That's fair.
He
That's
can
fair.
fly for one. That's the main thing. He flies,
That's fair.
but he is expensive. He is incredibly expensive. He's like 800 points at the moment.
Yeah, let me actually pull up and let's just double check. Like that sounds right. I think he might be like 880. Like he's crazy expensive. Um, and he's a lot of wounds, and he can do
Oh yeah,
his
he's
hill, and he's got
830.
830. Yeah. Uh, yeah, he's and like he's no slouch in combat. He's got a buttload of attacks that all have pretty good rend. Um, but he's still rather killable. Like his armor save for mortal wounds only works against attacks. So you just hit him with spells. Um,
He has a spell ignore ability.
yeah, but it's not like fully guaranteed either.
Mm.
Like, because that's his Zinch head, right?
Huh? No,
That's his.
I believe that's just one of his native artifacts.
Gotcha. Yeah, like he's still pretty easy to kill. Like you don't have to worry about him bouncing back mortal wounds with his armor
Sorry,
for spells.
he is
Um,
relatively easy to kill considering he is 800 points.
yeah,
There we go. I know he can heal back up, and and that's incredibly common. But enough range damage will ruin his day.
yep,
Enough. We can't really take him in melee unless you're like a pure warrior spears and he charges into your block.
yeah,
And yeah, like I like my chances when he does that, but that's because the person playing him's an idiot and wants to die.
yep. What?
The main problem is everyone wants to one-on-one him with monsters. This keeps happening every time I
Yeah, you
see him
can't.
fighting. Uh, fighting in like games and tournaments, and this is how I lost to Archaeon. Everyone wants to one-on-one him with monsters, which is not how you fight him.
Yeah. Unless
At
you're a gate crasher, that could actually do it.
possibly, or Godric, but why did Archaeon charge Godric?
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
only time Godric would ever threaten him. But yes, he does his job very well, but he's expensive, and if you ignore him, if you play around him, you're playing against a 1,200 point army,
Yeah.
and Seraphon can shred 1,200 point armies, and when he's
Yeah.
the only thing on the board, he can't do anything.
Yeah. Agreed. And like even the Archaeon with Kairos Fate Weaver list that's been bopping around, like
Mm.
just kill Kairos.
Kairos is
Like,
super fragile.
yeah, like he will just die. Uh,
Granted,
like you don't
I
have to
know
put a
why
whole lot
people
into him.
do that list. It's incredibly funny when you meme the heck out of it,
Yeah, yeah.
because being able to take Slayers of Kings and make it an auto kill is funny as heck.
Yeah, but you also still have to get two sixes on your destiny dice, which isn't that common.
Yeah, still, it's
Um,
it's funny. That's why people take it.
oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and like Kairos is a good caster. Like
Hmm.
in terms of caster, he's pretty close to Croak. Um, but yeah, like the Archaeon, if you can kill him, you need to do it in one fell swoop. Or if you're on the positive side of turn swing, like you're in the position to double turn, then it's worth shooting him a bunch. And then if you get the double turn, shoot and fight him. Like it's all about robbing activation sequences from him. Archaeon gets his work done in combat. Give him the least amount of combat you can give him unless you're using it to kill
Yeah,
him.
do not charge him unless you can
Same for
kill him.
Kragnos. Like you deal with Kragnos exactly the same way. You shoot him.
Kragnos is easier because he can't. Even if he does have fly, he's too fat to get over screens or road bumps,
Yeah.
and our skinks are faster than he is. So
Yes.
you can just make sure he never gets into anything dangerous.
Yeah.
Do not charge these people. Not
Yep.
with a single unit, at least. Unless you are absolutely sure you can kill them to dead, don't charge them.
Yeah. If it's like
Ignore them.
finishing blows.
Yeah.
Yep.
They aren't dangerous enough that they can kill your entire army if you're actively avoiding them. And
Yeah.
and your Carnosaurs, even 2-on-1, cannot deal with them. They aren't they aren't that good. Even they really aren't.
Yeah. For sure.
They're
Uh.
yeah, they're geared towards dealing damage to infantry in the first place.
Yeah.
They aren't meant to solo heroes.
Yep. Uh. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. But and Archeon's like he's not that much damage. Like Slayer of Kings is four attacks that are twos and threes win two. Like they're gonna get through flat three damage. Like
Yeah,
that's good.
he does an average of 18 that can spike up to 32 if he's very lucky.
Yeah, but like that average of 18 is not that far off from a like any of the things that we can do if you focus multiple things into him. Like
Right,
he's
he's
not any
800
more
points.
damaging
18
than the
damage
rest
is
of your army.
terrible for 800 points.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, you just don't bother chipping him. Like it's like Croak. Don't bother chip damage. Go in and kill him when you're ready to kill him.
Granted,
Um,
he's harder to kill than Croak, but still.
oh, he is for sure. But like the same way you don't want to do chip damage to Croak, you don't want to do chip damage to Archaeon. It's gonna amount to nothing.
Yeah.
Because he gets his
Actually,
auto D3.
it
Yeah.
forces him to use his heroic action to heal himself, which is good, but
Yeah, I mean it's better than him getting to do like
well,
but the
I'm
the other
thinking
one's
mainly
only once per
CP
turn.
because the armies he likes the support,
Yeah, yeah.
but like don't focus on him. Don't try and kill him.
And most of the armies he's going to be inside of have crappy shooting. Like Zinch is the only one that has decent shooting out of the
Because
armies
pinks
that
are
he shows up
horrifying.
in. And even then, it's not the very best shooting.
Mm.
Like 30 Carrick Acolytes and some Flamers aren't going to get that much damage. Like, Yeah. So if you're running into them a bunch, honestly, bring pterodons. Like,
Pterodons if you want him dead, or play old Seraphon, in which we dance, because we're good at dancing.
yeah, and just screen them. Yep. But like, you're gonna move. He moves 14 inches. Pterodons move 16. Like, you're gonna outmove him. Uh, and six pterodons plus something else. There's a good chance you're gonna kill him
Yep.
because his armor does not work against pterodons. He does not have a mortal wound save against it because that is not an attack. It does not have an attack line. So it's just straight sticking damage. Um, yeah,
Which is
pterodons are
nice.
uniquely good at killing Archaeon and Kragnos.
Let's see. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Marathi, who is not good at killing people.
Yeah.
She does. She's like 600 points, and she does less damage than our baseline Carnosaurs do. She,
Mhm.
but she tends to stick around. The 3 wound cap is frustrating if you don't know how to deal with her.
Yeah.
She can't heal though, which puts her head and shoulders a bit above most other monsters for ease of dealing with, because once you have damage on her, that damage is permanent.
Yep. And to deal with her, like all you got to do is have a slant in your army, a slant or croak.
Mm.
Like you just comet her every turn as one of your comet targets, and you'll kill her. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, and if she engages, which she shouldn't, because she's mostly best as a support piece, a really expensive but kind of awesome support piece.
Yeah.
Like her with her +2, the most to casting, the most dangerous she is that she can easily get Mind Razor off.
Which is a great spell.
The Mind Razor is the best spell in the entire game. I
Yeah.
do not say this with hyperbole. It is incredible. That's her main thing, and the ability that she lets people fight twice in combat.
Yeah.
But I think that people give her more credit than is due, and that's as a Daughters player. The main reason she was dangerous was bow snakes, and bow snakes aren't a thing anymore.
Yeah.
They just aren't, which makes me sad on the inside. But she's dangerous, and she can hold the line if you let her.
Yep.
But she's
Well, and a lot of times, like the reason she's really good is because she picks prize sorcery, and then she doesn't die, and that's a free point,
mm,
free 3 points. Like,
right. Yeah, the thing is, she can pick her fights, which is good for her.
mhm,
She can pretty much survive when she wants, which is also good for her.
mhm.
But that's the extent of how good she is. And from what I've experienced, unless you have an army specifically built for killing monsters, she's only about as durable as any other well-built monster in the game, because a lot of things can survive 2 rounds in combat unless you throw everything at them. The thing is, you just can't throw everything at her. So, don't.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Chip
Well,
away.
and it's super easy to stick damage to little Marathi.
Yes.
Um,
That's one of the reasons, like, when her new War Scroll came out and everyone was panicking, I'm all, this isn't a good War Scroll. Not inherently.
yep.
At least not as good as everyone said. Because Little Marathi is really easy to kill, and the only
Yep.
reason she doesn't die instantly is she has the Big Marathi's health pool.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, like just comet them, and you'll get your 3 damage.
Yep,
Um,
comet them, hit them with a single unit of skinks, and
yeah.
and if she engages, which is why people think she's scary, then just fight back and she dies.
Yeah.
It yeah, just don't give her the fights she wants. Like either fight her on her own when she's nowhere
Well,
near the people to support her, and which she's not dangerous, or just make her only capable of fighting things that don't matter.
and like 2 bodies, 1 soul works against her for Comet. Like you pick
All
both
the time.
Marathis
Yeah.
and you're probably dealt your 3 damage to her with
Yep.
Comet. Like, she's not super difficult to deal with. She'll die over 4 of your magic phases, plus whatever damage you stick to her on her turn. Like if definitely
Yeah,
try to
it
put
takes away the benefit of being durable. She can't engage when you're constantly throwing rocks at her.
yes. And she can't engage if you've got like pterodons who are going to drop bombs on her to give you free damage on your turn. And if you've got like any other thing that can unleash hell, like salamanders, razordons, even chameleon skinks are pretty good for unleash hell.
Or
Like they'll stick
anything
2
that's
damage
even
to her.
remotely decent in melee.
Yeah. So like I don't know, like as soon as you give her targets that she can't really charge without volunteering damage and letting you kill her quicker, she's really not an issue.
Mm. So yeah, mainly the problem with these models isn't that they're incredibly difficult to deal with. The problem is you're dealing with them in the wrong way. It's not a straightforward just pound them into the dirt like everyone wants to think AOS is like, but AOS has never been like that.
Never. It's always been rock, paper, scissors.
And even when it's not rock paper scissors, it's about positioning. It's about good board play. It's not
Yep.
about who has the biggest rock, not unless you make it that way. So don't make it that way, and do
Yeah.
your best not to let your opponent make it that way.
What if that's what they've done? Like if they've brought rock, you just fight it with paper. You're like, cool, here's my skinks. Go kill 10 skinks.
Granted, this does mean that you have to build with this in mind. You need skinks in your army. Skink screens
Yep.
or night screens work as well, but not for in this position because you like night screens because they can deal damage. Aether
Yeah.
wings if you can bring them. They're
So my main issue with night screens, which I like them, like night screens got even better in third edition. I already liked them in second.
mm-hmm,
Um, my main issue with them is the way objective control works. They're just not going to help you with it anymore.
right.
Um,
They are a much more durable screen. That is true. They have a Nat 4 which can turn into a 3.
yeah, yeah,
So they'll survive longer than skinks will. But skinks also hold twice as much as they do, are just
yep,
as fast, and yeah, they're both good for different reasons. Just don't use knights when you're expecting to go up against Archaeon.
yes, yeah. They're so easy to jump because of how little, like they can make a better line barely because of the
Uh,
way skinks work. They're on
Actually, they can make
24
a
millimeter
much
bases.
better line than skinks can by
Well,
like
skinks you can stretch
6 inches.
out one long each.
Yes,
So you
you
can
can do
get
that with
like
knights as well.
yeah, 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 and you can put an inch in between them. Um,
The
but in
main the
terms
main
of
thing with 1 inch skinks is they can die, which is why I do uh, three, two, three, three on my sorry,
that's
3,
fair,
1, 3 on my skinks. There we
and
go.
I respect that. But in my experience, if they're getting attacked anyways, they're dead. Um,
They're
so I don't really care if they have like a targeted removal. Like, oh, cool, the giant stuffed one in a bag. Giant's killing all 10 of them anyways.
mm.
Um,
It,
so
most people
I
are worried because they'll just take 1 damage in the magic phase and then be ignored. But they're 75 points. You don't care.
well, and you choose where the damage goes for pretty much every spell. Like, um, you just pull one off the end.
hmm
Um, but yeah, like knights
Well,
can make a
the one off
better
the end
line.
problem is then you daisy chain down to 5.
No, because of their base size. That's what I was getting at. You're in a
You mean
25
like right
millimeter
next to each
base.
other? Oh, I thought you meant a gap. The thing with knights
No,
is you
no.
can actually put a gap in between them.
Yes, you can put a gap in between them. So they can make a better line, but they don't make as good of a blob or a squiggle or any other type of formation for soaking up area to
hmm
stop behemoths from moving. Like if you
That's
want to
fair.
stop the behemoth with fly, skinks are better at soaking up table to stop it.
Yeah,
Because stopping fly is about stopping where it lands, not where it can go.
bring 30 skinks, guys. You'll definitely be happy you did if you use them.
Yeah, yeah. 3 10-man units of skinks, crazy valuable.
Yeah, the last thing we have on the docket today is we got some sneak peeks into the future of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah,
We apparently they're going to be releasing White Dwarf supplements for armies that probably aren't going to get a book anytime soon.
yeah.
So in this case, Sons of Behemoth had some major problems that needed fixing that GW stepped in and tried to fix. Mainly that
Yep.
they can't take battalions at all, and so they got battle tome battalions.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
didn't they
Yep.
just remove those from the game?
Yeah. Well, I mean, narrative.
GW, what's the point of removing them if you're gonna put them in 2 months later? My
Yeah.
main thoughts on this is they didn't want to balance all the old battalions to third edition, so they just said refresh.
Yeah, that's my assumption too. That's 100% my assumption. Um,
But it does feel kind of crappy, and it puts
I
a
agree.
big mark on that hashtag watertight rules on top of
Well,
all the other big marks.
and especially if like you were one of those people who used battalions to help you build your list, like
Mm.
that was your template. Now those being gone, like I think that's why the meta has been so weird. Is there's all those templates that people used to use disappeared.
And so people are
Um,
really just jumping in the deep end and have no idea what they're doing.
yeah. Oh, that's the other important thing. Way back to my list, Skinky Beast is two battle battalions, so it's a two drop list.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Battalions are easier to manage now, but also significantly less impactful outside of like how many drops you have.
I guess, but like every list I build, I'm like, oh, this is a two drop. This is a two drop. This is a two drop. Like, I just don't care enough about extra artifacts to bother with like a command detachment
Mm.
or a command entourage or a warlord detachment. Like, I don't care about the artifact. I'd rather be two drops. Just take two battle battalions.
Yeah, and
Uh,
yeah, there are two schools of thought. You hold the low drops, and I hold the we were never good at drops. I don't care, and I still don't care.
yeah, yep.
Seraphon are remarkably good at playing whether they go first or go second.
Yeah, which is
So
why I really like to get to choose so that I can pick the one that's worst for my opponent.
right, and I don't care. In fact, it often means I can just completely play mind games with them when I don't know, give them the double turn earlier than they expected or something.
Yeah, that so just an aside, a general thing. Uh if you have the opportunity to give your opponent the double turn on the second turn of the game, it is normally the right choice to do it unless you've played the game incorrectly.
Mm. And it's also like against players that aren't really good, it will throw them for a loop, and it's often really funny because they don't expect you to do that. No one expects you to do that, but usually they aren't in position to capitalize on you doing
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. Which is why I say like unless you've made some big mistakes. And against like Iron Jaws, no. Like they're all up in your grill, their whole army's where they want to be.
Yeah.
Like there's some places where that's obviously not the case. But like a general rule of thumb, most of the time when I win the roll off and I can give my opponent a double turn on turn two, I do it.
If for no other reason than to that 5 seconds of wait, what?
Well, not only that, but when you want a double turn is turn three. Um, like that's normally when everything's stuck in position, ready to do whatever they're supposed to do for the game. So if you can set it up so you're the only one who can get a double turn on turn three, that's a big win.
Mm.
But back on to White Dwarf. Yeah, they get some new battle tactics or what they can choose to do each round that we haven't seen.
Oh, right.
And
They do have secondaries, faction
yep,
specific secondaries and primaries, which is what we were hoping for.
yeah,
Yay!
yeah.
Let's hope they're actually interesting. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm gonna bet one of them is gonna be like kill a monster with a monster. Oh, look, now you can just do that twice because it's already in the rule book.
I hope it's not. I really hate the kill something because everything is already kill something. You know what I want to see?
Yeah,
I want to see shove 3 models into a sack,
a bag. Yeah,
into a bag. Oh,
that would be
okay,
great.
either 3 in 1 turn or 6 over an entire game.
Yeah, or like kick an objective a total of 20 inches over the course of the
Yeah, that'd
game
be
as like a
hilarious and a lot of fun.
yeah.
Like, just have this one giant in the background playing football because the primary.
Yeah.
No one would take it because it's not as good as just this thing lives, but it would be
Oh, yeah, it's
fun.
so easy. Like, have Beastmaster with Sons of Behemoth have a monster live at the end of the game. Well, cool. If I didn't do that, I lost anyways.
Hmm. But yeah, so what we were hoping is awesome. What we yeah, the big thing that's confusing everyone is why did you bring this back immediately?
Yeah, the battalions
Yeah,
for
some people think
yeah.
it's just going to be giants because they can't take it in general, but I think it's GW, so it's going to be everyone.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
and who knows? Maybe they're going to be core battalions, but what I heard is that they're going to be battle tome battalion.
Yes, that is generally the what people are hearing. You mentioned rumors that it's going to be narrative only, and if so, then nobody cares. This isn't a thing anyone will ever use
Yeah.
outside of like one event sometime, but then never again. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, it'll show
It's
up at Adepticon, and that'll
yeah,
be it.
Adepticon where there's already all these different rules, and so fun but not impactful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's generally how you fight gods, and generally how the meta is shaping up.
Yep. Shoot
Godric
them.
is only a thing because Vince says he is.
Yeah, and like the Ideneth Gotrek definitely has more legs than the other versions of Gotrek I've seen. Like just getting the tide table is pretty cool. But even then, like pretend he's not there. Like just play the game like he's not there. Measure 10 inches away from him and don't get within that range. Like if he's gonna make a long bomb charge, he's gonna make a charge. That's whatever. Um like but otherwise, like if he's only moving 4 inches, he'd have to roll a 10 plus to charge to get into you. Like you could even just be super safe and make a 13-inch bubble.
Hmm.
Like
And if you
you
think
just
and if you think you can risk it, you could make him charge the wrong direction. That's always funny.
yeah, like if you're like, cool, my chameleon skinks drop down back over here, are not on an objective, are shooting at your other thing. If you charge them, you're out of the game for the rest of the game. Like
Hmm.
that's even a bigger win.
Like you can even
Um,
sacrifice it, like I don't know, a 200 point Stegodon if you think you can like lose it if you really want to tempt your opponent.
yeah,
Like because it's oh one time in the entire game he charged a 200 point unit and it died, and now these 500 points are useless. So he
yep.
did not trade well.
Well, and something that I found with Go Trick, a lot of times, even good players are desperate to get value out of him, especially if you're playing KG against him. That a lot of times they'll kind of take the charges you give them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just want to get something out of him. And if he
Granted,
hasn't
this
done
last
anything,
strategy only works if you're playing Starborn. But then again, why aren't you playing Starborn?
yeah, like Coalesced is definitely better in the new edition. And I've had fun with the games I've played with Coalesced, but I can in no way say it's better than Starborn.
Lizards were made to dance. We've always been good at it. We've always been made to play the board. So
Yep.
play the board. Play it
Yep.
like an instrument and dance to the
And
chaos.
Kin Bravery. Holy cow. I hate running units in Coalesced that aren't monsters.
Yeah.
That bravery sucks.
Yep. But yeah, that's the short and long of it, guys. Is there anything else you want to cover, Wizard?
No, that was pretty much everything I had.
Then it was wonderful talking to you all. The jungle
Yeah,
is
thank
calling me
you.
home. You all have a wonderful time.